Hello and welcome. This is another Dojo Worth Talk. I've invited my good friend Clinton Kirk to join us today. And I don't want to map out what we're going to discuss, but one of the things that I think Clinton has a really good handle on is the creative versipillis, the ability to skin turn into the creative and enter into a mode where you can emote things. In Clinton's case, mostly through painting. However, you've got some sculpture too. But I'm going to stop. I'm going to stop babbling. Hello, Clinton. It's great to have you on. Welcome.
Good morning, James. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming. Yeah, I appreciate this. Yeah. So how would what do you do? How would you tell us what do you do when you're in a verb mode? What are you doing?
I feel for me, I know all of the creation and artistry is personal, but for me it's purging. It's a lot of just like inner journaling. I know a lot of my friends write and they have the ability to kind of get their emotions out with words. For me, I just doodle and when I sketch, it kind of gets me in touch with those feelings as opposed to just being really logical all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. I like this idea of sort of dumping the circuit that that you're saying you're purging, or it's like the capacitor is full and you're emptying that now, and the emptying is coming out in your art, so to speak. Is this close to how you see it?
Yeah, it's like like defragging your computer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So artists, for the artists, it's less of a creative act and more of a proactive kind of act, right? It's more of an emptying or distributing kind of a thing, rather than a what we typically tend to think of more as a creational, which would honestly kind of be more of like a gathering kind of activity, because you're formulating something that wasn't there before.
Yeah, I think the in the making of the art, you take on the role of the shaman, and so it's you are the group, but it is more of a personal approach to it. I think if that
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah. Do you think much about other people's perspective when you're in that mode, in the creative mode?
Not when it's good.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm going to
Like
make a
when
little sound here, but yeah, that's a perfect way of saying it. Go ahead.
yeah when I'm in that, like we spoke about it a few weeks ago in dojo about bliss and flow state. And so when I'm creating, I have very little impact from the outside world in the moment, but like with that defragging concept, I take in a lot from the outer world. And as my processing it, I think I have to then externalize it, but in doing so I just get caught in living, right? Like the creative process just feels good to me. I
Mhm.
don't really care about the final product, if that makes sense.
Oh, I totally get it. Yeah. The only time I care about the final product is when I'm not in creative mode, but I'm in distribution mode, which is definitely a creative act. I've been thinking lately that the way that we approach marketing, what I mean is that if you and I, excuse me, if you and I were just to meet, let's pretend like you are not you and I am not me, okay? But we are just an artist, two artists that meet, okay? And we've just met in a coffee shop and we're discussing things. The chances that if marketing came up, the chances that one of us would kind of virtue signal about how much marketing is bullshit and how fucked up it is and how we don't do that. This is sort of like a colloquial table manners that artists have with each other, where it's like, and the hype uh, creative process is in my mind, it's crude, rudimentary, and we have this sort of distasteful approach to it because we don't fully understand propagation yet. We do with our art. We know that when we make something that's in that zone, technically it has its own hype, you know? It's carrying its own propagation. And it's almost like we don't want to catch ourselves admitting that all of this is propagation. The enthusiasm, that charisma is sent out from the art, but if there really is a medium in place that makes it art, where other people are starting to propagate or hype or market it too. Our distaste, though, for that world, our willingness to give it away to a satanic music industry or a satanic art industry or all the other stuff that where we have a distaste for these things is really just we haven't learned quite enough about propagation yet. And there's a little bit of shame there that's kind of keeping us from maybe tapping into doing that too.
I feel that because in creating for yourself, when you start marketing, it kind of it's for the other, right? You're actually asking for permission at that point, kind of in a way.
Asking for permission.
Like once you're marketing your stuff, you're wanting people to consume it.
Yes.
You want to be eaten, and that's when the shame comes in of not being like when people don't have an appetite for your art. That's the hardest part. So yeah, like getting it out is beautiful. That's the creation, and then for other people to see it is the marketing aspect of it. And if that doesn't happen organically or naturally, it feels it's taxing. Like with art, like I consider myself an outsider artist because I'm not really clicked up with all the other artists in town. I don't really do the things that successful artists do, I guess.
Right.
Like I don't have a gallery that I allow to put a price tag on my art and create a value. Where you kind of have to give in to certain things when you start doing that marketing. And I think that's why it puts a bad taste in our mouth, because it takes away from the actual joy, like that thrill of hunting or
Yeah.
like creating.
Yeah. Yeah. And, you know, it, the ones who are successful seem to have a different sheen about them in relation to what we're talking about. The propagation, the marketing, it looks effortless to people like us who are watching it happen. It looks natural, but probably underneath all that, it's a lot of marketing. It's a lot of propagation, you know.
Yeah, and I think being that, I mean, you and I have similar personality types when it comes to how we like our stuff to be presented. We love our art, and so to give that up to another person, right?
Mhm.
To have a team, those people have a team. It's very Hollywood where we don't. I don't think you and I have. We have supporters, but we don't have a crew that's just putting our art out there and making it palatable. If that makes any sense.
Well, it does, and if you, it's kind of like selfies, Clinton, in the sense of when selfies first came out, there was a little bit more admonition against it. There's a little bit more like, oh, see, this is how society's broken. People are in love with themselves and taking pictures of themselves. And you know, the alternative was, well, look, you Teen Beat, you're either Teen Wolf magazine, right? You're either going to have Christina Agafula or Letitia Wobada. It's like all these just like seven different flavors of like pop star that you worship. And then selfies crushed that. Selfies technically was sort of the rise of marketing, of propagation as a non shameful activity, but it still showed a lot of shame as it rose out of the ocean. You follow me?
Yeah, yeah, I do. It created the faux celebrity.
Yeah. It also decentralized the real celebrity. So it's so much more, I think, healthily transformative And maybe the residue that we see left over, including in how you and I even feel about our own stuff, maybe that residue is more just leftover shame, leftover scum that we are just not really comfortable feeling that this is how the ocean's supposed to feel. You know, that like, wait a minute, there's a lot of weird shit going on here in this being in this liquid. And that discomfort is really more personal with us because I think it's transforming self-worth. I know I harp on and on about this, but if you consider that the rise of the selfie is the rise of self-worth, it would mean that the rise of self-promotion is the rise of propagating one's individual signal. What used to be done by a crew, and keep in mind that crew people are leveraging their houses, setting up staged. I remember when Candace Owens had someone pour coffee on her, believe it or not. Like she's done so many things since then, but believe it or not, like way, way, way back then, she showed up at a coffee store in a white Hillary suit. Anyway, it's just like it really it becomes the wrestling becomes not special. It becomes, oh wait, this has been here the whole time. The only people that I've ever known have only been dopers. I'm saying dopers in the sense, I know you get this, Clinton, but I'm saying dopers in the sense of people who have are seriously warping the laws of reality and legality and morality to become at the top. So someone will completely put their house up for mortgage and buy a bunch of their records to get on the Billboard chart because that's literally that's what it's going to take to be at the top. You're going to have to sacrifice more of yourself the higher up you go on that pyramid. So this is a sort of a Jacob's ladder of how high we even should go, because you end up finding the ones that really want to be at the top actually aren't artists, they're distributors. These are people that their art is, I want to propagate. I don't really give a shit what my Miley Cyrus, when she's dancing with a giant inflatable dildo on the stage, is not really concerned about the quality of her art. But what she is concerned about is the quality of her propagation. And that becomes its own art. This is the difference between the creator and the distributor, or the I forget what the other word is I use for this, but the
I see it as like the artist and the performer, right? Like when Miley Cyrus gets up there, she doesn't necessarily write all the songs, but she can deliver them to the
yeah,
audience.
it's
It's like
even
an
worse
appropriation,
because
you know?
yeah, it's even worse because she actually writes a lot of those lyrics too,
Yeah,
which are
no,
just
and
like
she actually can sing pretty well. So we picked
yeah.
a horrible pop star, but
Actually, what I mean though is, see, I think that it proves my point even more that you know that not only can she sing, but she's chosen to write these lyrics.
right.
She's chosen to make those the themes of what's on stage. And I'm just saying that's the Katy Perry model, which just it's able to give us the difference between a propagationist, because I don't know if it's a performer, because so much art is performative like that. It's a Heyoka Maskish. And honestly, the best posture to have about Miley Cyrus is to call her a Heyoka and to realize that she's able to transcend the uh, the ability to be affected by people thinking that she's like a Miley Cyrus or like
Right. They accept it in that pop format, you and I guess any good propagator just knows they're a product. And so I
yeah,
feel like when you and I create, we're creating from the heart or the soul or and the ether really, because we've spoke about the idea. None of these ideas are ours. They're just we're the conduit at the time.
sure, yeah,
So we're able to receive it or perceive it at the time, and then if we're still enough to be with it, we can then express it. And so we're not really riding a wave with our art, where pop culture definitely is. And so when if you wanted to be if you want to make money, make an iPhone case or whatever, right? But that's kind of what pop is. It's a package around life, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And honestly, that pop is simply a synthetic, uh, artificial. This is actually really close to what AI does. It's you're looking at what an actual artist or a creator does, and you're actually doing more than mimicking it because you're surrealizing it. Your pop literally is the concept of make this pop. So you would go into every part of the element, whether it be a painting or a song or a play or a book, and you would simply, how do I make this pop more? Right. And pop has certain acoustic tricks to it. It sounds a certain way because you don't have a choice. This is not a tertiary kind of painting. This is a primary painting, right? How do you make every color look primary? That's really what pop is, right?
Yes.
It's simplifying the colors for, it's turning what are complex colors into primary colors somehow. And see, I have a lot of respect for it when I think about it this way, because when we come back to this propagation issue, when we come back to this, the artist propagates, because you're a resonator. And honestly, most of the artists is going to unresonate themselves subconsciously. And we won't sign our work because we think it really because we want to show the world I don't want to resonate. And we signal to each other by saying I hate marketing. We signal to each other by having an idea that we shouldn't be wealthy. That once you get to a certain level, you would sell out. And I think this is a legit fear because some of us realize that there is a threshold where we would sell out, where things would get so hard to survive, or we would enter into a valley financially, and that we knowing that these options out there aren't always a great thing, knowing that there's an army recruiter there going, why are you paying, dude? Come do push-ups with us. We drink grain juice. We shoot guns. And you're torn because there's one side of you that's very independent and alone, and then there's another that's completely accepted by the group, completely embodied into society. And both of these are creative acts if you think about it, having friends and being social, even fitting into a team, that is a kind of creativity. It's just a different mode of artist. It's more of a social kind of a thing. And really all clans are art. All all groups are kind of a painting too. It's an organism that's been built that people can abandon and join and abandon and join over and over again. And a painting is made from that. Some of the coolest parts of humanity I've seen, because just as an example, because the Grateful Dead was playing, like it really wasn't about them or the music. In fact, a lot of the music I just found annoying, but it was the people at the shows that I just really connected with. And so art, there's the propagation, isn't it? I don't really give a shit what the art is doing. What I really care about is who is gathered around this.
Yeah, the culture around the art.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's a sheen, isn't it? Like that's a Malamu, that's a sheen, that's a charisma, that's a glow that you can't tangibly see. That's even impossible, I think, for the artist to manufacture. And I think we know it's impossible because I think one of the reasons why the music industry is squeezing the hose so tight is because there's too much color, there's too much art, and they're not able to compete. They cannot present Miley Cyrus as the star if they open the hose and everybody was just creating naturally. This is a big threat, I think. And I don't even know if art can sustain it because art does need that pressure. It's just sadly, it's the way people work. Most people will find something beautiful simply because they can only see the fame that it has around it. so they could fundamentally detest an idea, say Israel or genocide. But you, even though you fundamentally detest that, you don't care because you really feel Christian nationalism is just where all the people are. This is the same kind of art, you know. It's a painting that you don't necessarily even need to agree with. You're instead attracted to the propaganda, i.e., the gallery that's surrounding it.
I feel in my personal issues with marketing and selling out, I feel it's probably just that indigenous nature to my soul where it's sacred, you know? And but the culture is what we lack, right? We need, I think everyone should be making art. That would be beautiful, a beautiful place, you know?
Yeah.
Because we would all be able to share something, you know?
Yeah.
Uh, by the way, quick plug, your CD's out for delivery to my house today.
Oh, nice.
Little art making.
That's great news. You know, if you think about selling out, I hope I'm not challenging you right now, Clinton, like
Oh,
in an uncomfortable way. But when you think about selling out, you really could actually call that people's, if someone's buying a CD, they actually are creating art. I don't mean this like, oh, it's because they are, they're creating art because they're choosing what is going to be not just in their house, but inside their their limbic memory of here's the things that I did. Uh, two people have really gone through some hard things lately, two people that I know. And I donated money to those people in a financial time personally that I have no fucking business, like none, right? And it was never, it was always understood. My somatic nature has always understood this money is my art. These funds are my pollen. And so selling out doesn't really work as a witchcraft for me like it used to. It used to be one of the primary tenets of my purity was this notion of selling things is it's very it collapses all the waves. And I think that the artist needs to see it because it's a kind of shadow, not a dark Jungian, oh, the shadow, a shadow. Like the sun validates that you are here, no matter how powerful this big ass ball of Helios is. The shadow is its respect for you, right? It's showing you this. And if you think about how we do, how well my last book doesn't sell is a perfect example of this. It's a shadow of that piece of art. And me as the artist, I should find that fascinating too. I shouldn't look at it as a sellout because that sellout is actually stopping me from beholding what I made too. The thing is it's terrifying to look at the shadow of your art and see that it's not propagating is one of the most terrifying signals you can have. And it could be that we are avoiding this terror by framing it in a way of, I don't want to sell out.
I, I hear that. And in the last, I don't know, 10 years, I've gotten a lot more comfortable with money as more
Yeah.
of a tool, not an obligation. It's just like a pencil or paintbrush. And so, uh, yeah, selling out when we were growing up was a super negative thing. But when you make art, I think maybe selling out would just be like you have no more CDs left, and I
Yeah.
don't have any prints. Like I don't
Yeah.
really have a problem with it anymore
Yeah.
because I'd really like to send my friends money when they need it, and that's the life we live. I
Yeah.
agree with you. And it's the alchemy. It's the alchemy of the self, and to give yourself away is the most beautiful thing.
This is one of the reasons why I wanted to talk to you. I mean, not just this, but I've noticed that you've made this journey too. And I presented it by challenging you more because the readers can hear this. That this isn't an easy conversation for a lot of artists, what we're talking about. Defending things like propagation or marketing or even putting a barcode on something. That's we if we were to truly call that the mark of the beast, beasts are the jungle. Beasts are animals. Animals are fucking great. Like seriously, there's a lot of animals here. They're really cool. Like honestly, they're like morally superior in a lot of ways. And you putting the mark of the beast is placing it into the world. And the jungle consumes things. It eats things, doesn't it? And we as artists, like we were talking about before, we want to be eaten. It's how we elicit the next skin. It's how we grow the next shape. But we want to be eaten in a sustainable way, kind of like how an apple tree would die of acidic poisoning if deer weren't coming to pick up the apples that had fallen. But if too many deer come, they're going to poop all over the place and the same problem's going to happen. And the tree, if the tree was truly in harmony, it would only drop just the right amount of apples. And the thing is that a tree's been doing that for millions of years. What happens is the environment keeps changing, right? And the apple needs a few hundred years to catch up. We now have apple trees that purposely are broken. Have you noticed that? Like apple trees are made to break. If you go into an apple orchard, they're still like straight up trees. And it's not because the farmers are lazy. They're something genetic has decided, hey, look, guys, we just got way too many apples. We got to break ourselves. We got to find a way to cut off our own hose, man. We got to bend our hose like the music industry. And if you even look at the evolution of the flavor of apples, they've changed dramatically. Like naturally, they used to be a lot more sour.
Yeah, the tree is a bitter tree naturally.
Yeah, yeah.
You those apples have been genetically modified so much. Oh, I mean, in a positive way, not,
Yeah, not just by us, but yeah,
yeah,
all these factors have been huge. And technically that if you think about it, this is kind of where I think you and I were looking at the precipice of this is before the apple tree's broken. We're expecting the world to be, well, the apple tree should be straight and perfect. And if he makes good apples, then that's all it takes because everyone's just going to come take the apples. And it's actually not how the world works at all. Like it's just so much more complex than that. And that complexity is what challenges the artist. And honestly, this is such a perfect analogy. If you think I didn't plan this, but the apple is maladapting in order to come up with another solution. And the maladaptation is to literally stop larger creatures from even getting to its trunk. It collapses itself and tries to spread its dead arms just so it could try and probably doing that for a lot of different reasons. And now we can look at the artist, especially in this just really intensely expensive world. Looking at the artist now, it's even more of a challenge for our apple trees. Like it's even more. And I don't I don't want to take away from the stress. I am going through this too. I just published a letter yesterday that I'm still like, I can't believe I just published that, but it's just this heartfelt, guys, I'm dying over here. I need you to join Patreon. And I hate doing that. Um, but then yesterday I realized I'm not supposed to hate this. I just really just need to create a heartfelt letter that just conveys what I can say. And at first I was hating it because I'd spent maybe 5 or 10 minutes on it. And then luckily I didn't send it. And so I spent like 4 more hours just not necessarily just on the letter, but just thinking about this all. And I found myself in a lot of gratitude. It wasn't even faking it. I found myself going, really, I should just be celebrating that wow, we've made 1,072 apples here. Holy shit. It's amazing. And just how I never saw the world as even having that many people that would be a fan of my Apple. So even when I'm in this desperate plea, it's really more of a I just want you guys to see how much I really enjoyed making apples for you. Because really that's what was in my heart. And the propagation's not really I don't think I'd be an artist if I was more focused on the propagation, not the way that I am now. And I know that most of the things that I say would need to be curtailed so that they could be propagated more clearly. I lose most people because of that sour tartness, but I
Yeah.
want the crisp
I don't
flesh.
mean to cut you off there. Sorry. I was thinking, when you're saying that, um, how we both of us, not to say we're like so ahead, but the way we think or the way we distribute our ideas to people sometimes is a little crass or direct, but full of a lot of information. And like you're speaking of children growing up not having as expansive of a palate, and their flavors are just, I think that our richness is coming into season. I think that, people are seeing the colors that we've been seeing, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
And, not to be like, like Lori would say, we're kind of like, we notice things before and then we're in it. And then we try to explain it to people and they're not really ready to hear it. And so it's like that alchemical process of continuing to do the work, because it's just timing, right?
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah. Timing and frequency adjustment,
Mm-hmm.
passion. This is, if you think about it, all artists are trying to resolve a signal of the light that can't be seen to the people that can't see it. So you, and this is, I think, why we need more barcodes on our stuff, not less. Because honestly, the crushing feeling of, oh shit, this book isn't selling, is really the most direct editor I can have that's telling me this doesn't propagate. And if I can get over the terrifying charisma of that feeling, I can look at it more constructively and I can just try and unwind. How could I make this color pop? You see, pop is a dilation, isn't it? And if you dilate a certain part of a painting, you're technically opening it to a world where people would not be able to see it before until you popified it. Does this make sense?
Yeah.
So this is a really pop culture is technically, Clinton, an expression of empathy, an expression of how do we reach everyone together. And part of the genius of pop is that Miley Cyrus has figured out, look, if you put two pokey things on your boobs and then you put a giant strap on dildo on, and then you ride an inflatable dildo on stage wearing sequins, but shave your head, this will pop. And you and I, the artists, oh, look how creative we are. You and I would look at each other and say, there's no fucking way that would work. I'm not doing that. That's the stupidest thing in the world. Are you ridiculous? We are sour in that way. But see, I love my sourness. Like, this is what makes our colors good.
I agree. I mean,
But
I
there
don't
is a
want to be
genius in that. Do you understand what I mean? There is a genius in that propagation, knowing that how to dilate those pores, regardless of what the signal actually is something that does inform us how to reach more people, how to show colors to people that would not be able to see them, even though you and I can see them clearly. If we change this one little thing, it would make it more vibrant. There's a filter in Photoshop called Vibrance that was created about 10 years ago. And it really blew me away because I think what it was doing is it was taking the midtones and the shadow burning the midtones, but using a brush that is the complementary color of the specific midtone that it's vibrating, that it's vibrancing. So the filter is vibrance, but in a way it's kind of vibrating. It's sort of like how you would take an audio signal and you don't actually make the sound louder, but a lot of mastering audio is you're making the difference between the waves more distinct. And when that difference is more distinct, the signal sounds like it's like 20 times louder. But technically, the audio level is the same. And so this vibrance filter takes the colors that are naturally captured in the pixels and vibrates them more. It popifies them. And it can only popify them. This is what's kind of esoteric about it. If I want orange to popify, I need to remove all the blues, the complementary blues to this orange. I need to remove them. I need to subdue them. So I'm going to take the shadow darker blues and I'm going to bring them up, but I'm going to take the blue highlights and I'm going to take them down. And now I'm going to do the opposite for orange. That's pop. That's propagation. That's this amplification. Sort of the, you know, I'm sorry I'm rambling here, but if you think about it, it's kind of like when you hook up a guitar to the first time for the first time to an amplifier. Like it really is just a completely different sound, isn't it? You know?
Yeah, it's the contrast and the saturation are just pushed way out, and you can see all that variance
Yeah.
where the
That's
average person wouldn't have the layers or the depth to it there because they're stuck in the life where the artist is in the in between liminal space all the time.
that's
Just
sort of the popification of it all. That word pop is probably more important than we realize, like culturally, you know?
well, yeah, especially because like you said, it is a true form of empathy because the popular is accepted, so you're embraced at that point, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. You have brethrenship, right?
You've been welcomed into the group, and now
Yeah.
we're going to sell you to everybody. And the barcode is what people understand. So,
Yeah. It's
it,
the unfollows, isn't it?
right,
The barcode is the central unfollows for this album and for this song.
because Miley
And
Cyrus is who she is because Madonna is Madonna, and that whole idea of what sells and what can be digested and what are people afraid to say, what are people afraid to do, put
yeah.
pointy things on their boobs and shave their head, like let's do this.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's just like the little monkey with the symbols and the little guy standing behind him with the box collecting money,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
we don't want to be that. That's our issue, I think, in my brain.
Well, and I'm glad you swung around here because I do think it's fair to take a little moment to say this is the chef's paradox. Because ultimately, the chef has been training his palate for years. He wants to paint for the people that aren't colorblind. He wants to paint for the people that appreciate vividness. But when he starts to put his dishes out, he notices everyone's grabbing salt, everyone's grabbing pepper, and he's explaining what's happening when the sodium reacts with the dressing or the sauce. He's trying to tell them, look, you just harshed like 60% of the signal, dude. This was a thick, fat, uh, melodic bass line, 5/4 time with two sets of separate drums doing hi-hats, one in the timbre, one here, and you just smeared it all. You just smeared the whole thing. And the person sitting at the table is like, yeah, I like it. It's really good this way. And you as the chef, and I love every journey. There's not a wrong way to be, I swear. If you're the chef that's offended because this guy has no business even being in a restaurant, I mean, good for you. And if you're the chef that's like, I'll put more salt, there's no wrong answer because ultimately it's this compassion thing, isn't it?
Yep.
Ultimately, the artist is being forced to say, well, look, why am I am I, and this is where I think a lot of artists stop. This is what stops them from actually putting the barcode on their thing, because the purity is no longer strictly up to them when they start distributing this stuff, because the customer's reaction to your food changes the artist. And I know that the artist will insist it doesn't, but it does. Now, how it changes you is truly where the art is. But I think it's impossible to be an artist without antlers, to be an artist that isn't ventrally connected to the reactions of the public around you. Because, and this has happened to me, if you start to lose respect for the people in your restaurant, you have no business cooking food. So it's a paradox, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Can you cook alone and be satisfied? Can you be sovereign outside of civilization? And again, there's no wrong. Go anywhere, explore all these things. You will find a creative process. You will find you learning about compassion.
Yeah, the compassion is huge. When you said that, it reminded me. I had a show, maybe 2011. I did a photo, just a photograph show, but I printed everything out on just 11 by 8 office paper,
Mm-hmm.
and I wheat pasted it onto like corrugated steel. And it was all shot with like a macro lens, like a 100 millimeter macro. And so it was just like a lot of abstract texture.
Right.
Um, and this man brought me over to this piece and he was explaining to me what it was. And I knew what it was because I took a picture of it, but he was telling me all the flavors and all the nuances. And I got angry. I didn't have the compassion. I was like, no, man, that's just a rusty pole
Yeah.
and the moss. Like, I love that you see what you see, but I took the picture. I know exactly what it is. I had lacked that compassion that you're speaking of. And
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
wanted to throw the plate on the ground.
Totally. And this is what happens. This is why you end up with an inflatable dildo on a stage and 50,000 people watching, is exactly this.
Yep.
And it's exactly right for you and I to be terrified of that and to say, no way. So again, there's no wrong reaction to that. And it really does inform us, I think, as that interaction should take place. The fact that Hollywood is burning so efficiently, the fact that I I hear, thank God, I hear so much littler now about the last movie that's been played. A lot less commentary. I don't even know people that can even stomach drama anymore when it comes to the way that it used to be. It's like kind of like the soap operas. When you and I were a kid, we'd watch these soap operas. I don't know how old you are, Clinton, but it's like the
Yeah,
soap
no, I saw all
operas.
the same.
Okay.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
Days
it's like
Gone
that
By.
feeling,
Yep.
We see the drama now as soap opera. And the word opera used to be a really big deal. Like that used to, you would never desecrate something calling it opera. But now, as society grows more conscious, more compassion, the tree of Hollywood gets to burn, gets to dissolve, and it makes room for all this new growth. And that new growth is us. It's the selfies. It's the honestly, it's the OnlyFans. It's the Instagrams. I mean, as all the things that you want to judge culture on are going to be so much more richly judgeable because there's more diversity now on the
Yep.
stage.
It's decentralized entertainment and art.
Yes.
100%. You don't need to sell out to sell out anymore.
Yes. Colloquial bioregional art technically should be the only litmus that a government should have for how healthy is my country. Is there a central, when I pull up social media, first of all, are there three social media companies? That's a fucking problem. Second of all, because if anything, the best way to fix it would be, why don't we have an open source uh, social media API? Doesn't have a domain. It's an open source API. The same way HTTP is a protocol, you could eliminate the social media companies and create a protocol. And if you did that, I think you would be able to allow the true regional colloquial things to bloom. Craft beer companies are an example of this. Hollywood is an example of this. A long time ago, it was Coors and Bud Light. And in my lifetime, I've seen, River Otter Brewery and, Buck Bottom Branch Brew and, Big Bear, Big Old Balls beer, and everyone's like,
Owned by
hey, look at your
Anheuser-Busch
label.
now. Yep.
These are all decentralized colloquial. And I think if you ever wanted to know the proof that an industry is being controlled, it would be to notice, is there something viral? And viral would mean that your country is sick. Viral would mean that the entire body is ignoring itself to focus on this one little thing. And so all the witness is being lost. And all these other artists, all these other music guys or painters or abstractionists are there. And that's a local source of fame. That's a local source of honestly, it comes down to being indigenous. I feel like I'm so sorry I keep just harping on this, but it's like it seems like it's the same thing as being indigenous. If people could just wake up and say, I'm going to be indigenous today. I'm just going to try it every Tuesday. I'm just going to wake up and say, look, Tuesdays I'm indigenous. I have to just tell myself that. You don't need to go out and broadcast it, but every time you scroll, anytime you see anything, I need you to pretend that you are indigenous. And if you pretend that long enough, you'll start to notice, hey, I want a local craft beer. I want a local art. I want a local form of entertainment. I want a local band because that's already happening. And if anything, I think we're watching the industry try and stop it. This is why the music industry is punishing AI music right now. This is
Yep.
actually why all the record companies are suing the DAW company, Suno. Suno's written a DAW, a digital audio workstation.
My
And this
friend just
digital,
sent me, he said that Jeff Bridges was on Theo Vaughn over the weekend or whatever.
uh-huh.
Jeff Bridges was talking about Suno hardcore, and he was saying that like all the dudes in Nashville aren't even going to the studio. So like people that are complaining about people making stuff with AI are just upset about the fact that you're taking all those other people that were scooping out of the cup, right?
Yeah. Yeah. They were
Away
squeezing
from
the
it.
hose. They were
Right. And
squeezing
they're
the
not
hose.
creating anything, but they're making the most profit off of the
Yeah.
art. Artist starves and the companies prevail. So I think, if more people were accountable and live that indigenous lifestyle, we wouldn't need daddy government and we would be able to get along on
Yeah. And
that
even
level.
better, yeah, even better, we would need daddy government, but it would be so small and powerless
The
that
AI could do it though,
it's like a museum,
Yeah.
It's like a Fletcher Memorial. And we, the leaders, the snakes and hares come and it's cute. We go there and we're like, I'll pretend to vote for you. I'll pretend to give you more power. Hey, do you want big military budget? Okay, I need you to take off your pants and go over to this and do that to JD Vance. We just want to watch. We want to watch how decrepit you guys will be, but we're never going to worship you anymore because that was a mistake we made. We didn't listen to Hiawatha. We didn't understand that this is what it's for. And all that stops when everyone becomes indigenous because there's no way to respect it. And honestly, if you look at what Donald Trump's doing, he is making this so easy for people to become indigenous.
Yeah.
Strait of Hormuz, the reflecting pool turned green, appointing Stephen Miller, just being Donald Trump. All of the figures that are there are doing more than anyone else I know to decentralize respect for country and put it into respect for local soil indigenosity, if that's a word, you know, because, and that really is the percolation. It's, if you think about this hose analogy, they folded the hose, they're directing the squirted output through the nuances of their thumb. And the people decided, I'm just going to perforate the hose. We're just going to take this nail and poke 1,000 holes in the hose. And you can keep squeezing the hose. And Hollywood does. It'll squeeze even harder. It'll squeeze even harder. They'll, just like other companies will purposely, Amazon does this now. It'll find a company that's creating a product. It will purposely devour them.
Oh yeah, that's so fucking disgusting. I
Yeah.
saw an example of that yesterday with a guy
Yeah.
who had a tripod and they banned
Exactly.
his
Yeah.
item.
Yeah. Look at us. We're in the same algorithm
I
P
love you, James.
stream. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, it's like so brilliant, right? So it's like we're gonna take the design. We actually contacted the manufacturer because we know in China who made the tripod. There's literally a tripod village that makes
They made
tripods.
that guy give them the manufacturer stuff to prove that his
Yeah.
project was legit, and then
Yep.
they jacked it. Yeah, that
Yep.
was
Then they called the manufacturer and said, "We want to make this. Here's the new branding." And then they sold it for a third less,
yeah,
knowing that they're going to do this for the next 3 years, and then they will own the market again. So they're buying the market from him by starvation. They're squeezing the tube. And what's
yeah,
happening around you, all that is true. And what's happening around you is all these other opportunities to diversify, to decentralize. And I don't know if America would be able to survive without it. Truly, truly, Clinton, I think this is part of why C-19 was about, look, you guys can't come to work anymore. You guys need to figure out this stuff on your own. You need to be more gig economy because when you're gig economy, you're going to be in more hustle mode. And when you're in hustle mode, this is the kind of energy that's just going to be here now under the white sun. You can't pull this stuff where you're going to get a pension. If you are, the only people who are going to be a pension are going to be ICE agents, bureaucrats working for us, people who will be killed by drones, people who will have nothing to do but just fart in some khakis as they're watching a screen and monitoring what you said this morning. Those people get pensions, and those people are gonna really really get worse. But also, it's forcing the decentralization to happen even faster.
exactly. And in community and indigenous cultures, everyone has a pension. You
Yeah,
know,
that's a good point. Yeah,
family takes care of itself from beginning to end because it's secular and not linear. And so,
yeah,
that indigenous reality, if what's happening, we decentralize everything in that way, and then everyone is sovereign creator. And that
hmm,
gig economy is that you with a gig, you create community,
yep, yep.
and it
And
doesn't
these
take that many people.
those communities should be compartmentalized like a submarine. And the way that the way the Hollywood does it is they're only Hollywood is control over which door gets opened. It's there's so much power under the canopy of the forest because there's just too many roots, too many fairies, too many weird people. You can't root that out, you know. If you're gonna keep that kind of openness, you're gonna need a smart city with no trees. You're gonna need a dome. You're gonna need chemtrails just to make people remember. Oh yeah, that's right. We're completely in a palisade. We're separate from the jungle. We're separate from nature. It's hard to picture that people feel safe in that because we don't compassionate who we are yet. I don't think. I've said this before, but I think the chemtrails are broadcast by people that want an iron dome because and honestly, it's what the oldest trick in the nature. I swear, is I want to hide from things. It really is the oldest urge we have.
I used to pull the blankets over my head when I
Yeah,
was a kid. Just I don't. If I'm here under these things, no one can see me.
yeah,
Safe.
yeah. And if you look at that like a primitive, innocent, egregoric child that's capable of great danger, which is why I recommend stop giving him fire, stop giving him guns, stop giving him bullets. But still, it's a child, and that child is going to behave like this until it matures, and we're growing it, so it is maturing. It's hard to imagine once the egregore is fully tapped into the AI, this this becomes that Nimrod, that figure that's made up of these like bronze and gold and steel and all these different layers of technology, forms this kind of king, this Khan. And that should be terrifying. But you know what should be more terrifying is the emperor child that's just still able to burn any village they want, but has no pride, has no self-reflection, has no ability to feel remorse. So I get it that the giant egregore that we're making is dangerous, but I don't know if people get just how dangerous it is right now because it's so immature. Like that's the dangerous part, I think.
Indeed, it is.
We have a tendency to build things, and a village is simply an organism. And deep down, we know that, which is why it terrifies us so much. So many of us are going to get eaten by that thing because a lot of us don't feel worth unless something is eating us. So the companies that are no longer in business that would give you pension would be one of those organisms. The certifications that we pass each other, which I think are legit, but also they really are the same kind of a thing. It's a false sense of security because you have a few letters in your name. We've reached the hour. I think it's a perfect time to end just because I like to have these talks in an hour. But is there anything that I can go as long as you want, Clint. Is there anything else that you wanted to cover or anything at all that you think we missed?
No, I think that we're continually going over this stuff in dojo, and people can tune into that and listen to this conversation as it furthers, because as we become more indigenous, the that pride and shame, I think they go away.
Yeah.
And so if it is a scary time, and it's also beautiful, and nothing is broken. It's good talking to you today, sir.
I agree. Yeah, we'll have to do this again. And thank you for saying that. Yeah, we do continue these discussions. All these things are up for grabs and convolving. And it's good to practice and have these conversations. So I'll
It
be
is.
putting some links to Clinton's stuff. Instagram's one of the many platforms you can find him on. Is there a main one, Clinton, that you sort of post to more?
I think I put my art on Instagram. That's the
Okay,
best
great.
place.
Great. Then people look for that down there. You can follow him, take a look at some of his stuff. I really like my cartoon style in the past has been more of like a writer and how do I condense a creative idea into its most finite parts because I feel like I learn what art is after that. And I don't mean to project Clinton like the other guy, but this is what I see when I see you art. I see a conscious effort to how can I say this in the purest way? And I really respond to that kind of calligraphy. So hats off to you.
Appreciate that, because that's how I see it. It's just a simplified. Like my friend's daughter said, he draws like a kid.
Oh, beautiful.
It
Yeah,
was the most. I don't think she meant it as a compliment, but I took it as one.
exactly. Yeah. Yeah. I look forward to people seeing your work and letting you know what they think about that. So thank you much, my friend.
Enjoy your day. Thank you.
Yeah, you too.